minutes with probably the greatest travesty, the most horrendous epic in our history. Because over the course of time, amends were made between the Lord of creation and the Lord of the Word. They were brothers. They made up, and they once again began to work together on planet Earth. It was the Lord of the Word that was responsible for the flood. It was his effort to destroy the beast. He was truly attempting to eliminate this troublesome, worrisome reject. But it didn't work. They worked together in time, and they both had families. The eldest son of Prince Ea of Enki was known as Marduk. Another name in all of the ancient societies, again in Mesopotamia, Babylonia, in Egypt. I highly recommend Mr. Hancock's work, Zachariah Sitchin's works, and others, in which you will find very brief histories of Marduk, otherwise known as Ra. Ra is a figure that was made very popular recently in a movie called Stargate. He was the eldest son of Prince Ea. Ra Marduk found himself on planet Earth, deprived of the kingship of the system known as Sirius. In essence, we are replicating exactly what occurred millions of years earlier with a young king named Zeus. Marduk would never ascend to the throne. And so, his story is long and varied, but in time he found an ally in the stars. In a far distant star system, he found a reptilian queen, one who was an antagonist, a foe of the Orion queen. I refer to her as the rebel queen. This rebel queen, frustrated of the throne of Orion, sided with Ra. And between the two of them, they descended upon Earth. They removed all of the Syrian royal family, allowed only those who would pledge their allegiance to Ra to remain on planet Earth. We have evidence to show that Ra changed the stelae. He changed the stone inscriptions. He changed the records, and he made himself the one and only God. Now, I will leave you with probably the most outrageous thought of the evening, as if that were possible. The reptilian technology utilized by the queens of Orion was very simple. Over billions of years of warfare and conflict, they made a very simple discovery. When one conquers a planet, it is not efficient to destroy the people of the planet who will not obey. After all, they are able-bodied workers. They are adapted to the environment of the planet. And so the Orion reptilian technology for conducting war and controlling populations, rather than fall to the destruction and termination of life, they developed a very simple system. Rather than destroy the person, they simply reprogrammed the brain. Human beings, physical beings, are bioelectrical chemical beings. You can be affected by high transmission power lines. You can be affected by radiation from computer screens. You can be affected by electronic stimuli. The Orion queens have mastered the technology which allows them to sever memories and to simply reprogram the individual. The rebel queen, possessed of the very same technology, in alliance with Ra, descended upon planet Earth, and they began the very systematic and simple ritual of reprogramming the minds of all of the inhabitants of our planet. Ladies and gentlemen, I am suggesting that only 6,000 years ago, somewhere around 4 to 6,000 BC, there was a very systematic elimination of all of our memories. We have been programmed to forget anything that occurred prior to the existence of Ra. I know that may sound difficult, but allow me to produce one very simple fact which I suggest proves this thesis. We have found that in the evolution of animals and creatures, on planet Earth, no creature will ever develop a major organ of any sort if it does not use it. In other words, no creature will develop an extra leg if it does not use it. If it does not use the extra leg, the leg will atrophy and it will fall away. The insects, the animals, the beings of this planet are efficient in their evolution. Only the strong survives. A major organ must be used or it atrophies and dies away. Scientists, scholars, physiologists, doctors, experts in many fields all agree on one simple fact about the human brain. It appears that we use less than 10% of the brain. How is that possible? If 90% of the human brain is unused, over the course of millions of years, it would atrophy and die away. I am suggesting to you that this is evidence that we have been reprogrammed. It is only a few thousand years ago that this occurred. Time has not elapsed sufficient to atrophy the brain. However, we use less than 10% of the brain. Something or someone somehow has disconnected us from our brain. I am suggesting to you that over the course of the systematic elimination of our memories, each one of us was marched down a long, dark tunnel, taken into a bright light, and there in the light was the operating room in which the memory cords were severed. We emerged faithful and loyal servants, remembering nothing before the existence of Ra, nothing before the existence of the one true Sun God. The only thing that we were left with is a lingering memory of a long, dark tunnel and a light at the end. I leave you with probably the most blasphemous thought of the evening. I believe that we are programmed to go to the light. I believe that every religion, every discipline, everything that we are taught tells us, go to the light. And I'm going